I turned my junior doctor salary into a 6-figure investment portfolio by the age of 25, but I'm not gonna lie, as impressive as that sounds, I did make some finance mistakes. And in today's video, I wanted to share with you guys some of the mistakes that I made so that you don't have to make those same mistakes as well. So if you're interested in hearing what those mistakes were, then grab a pen, grab a pencil, get comfortable. The first mistake I made was I didn't take into consideration the cost associated with having your money invested with a platform. Different platforms will charge you different amounts for you to use them. So Vanguard, for example, will charge you 0.15% if you have more than 32,000 invested with them, and if you have less than 32,000 pounds invested with them, they will also charge you £4 a month. And like I said, different platforms have different pricing. And although it doesn't sound like a lot of money up front, these amounts of money add up over a period of time. And I'm going to give you a practical example. Let's say you use a platform that charges you 2% and you've got £10,000 invested. That platform is charging you £200 a year to use that platform to invest. However, let's say your fund made a return of 7%. You've only taken home 5% because 2% of that went straight to the platform. The 2% difference may not look like much, but over a period of time, it adds up, and imagine what that money would have been worth if it was invested. Practical tip going forward, when you are choosing platforms, make sure you check the expense ratio or the cost associated with using that platform, and you want to make sure it's as low as possible. Think about looking at other competitors, and nowadays there are loads of different platforms and you can easily transfer your portfolio from one platform to the next. So that shouldn't be a hindrance, but make sure you're looking after your money and you're taking home as much as possible. Mistake number 2, do not be moved by FOMO. I once invested in a company that recently went public after they had just IPO'd, and their stock prices were super volatile. It was high one day and then it had dropped by like 30% the next day, and it was just an emotional roller coaster. And that experience taught me that FOMO is not a good reason to invest. Make sure you look at the numbers, make sure you look at the financials, make sure you actually understand the company and what exactly they're doing, but don't be moved by the media. The issue with the media is it can create a sense of urgency. Oh my goodness, if I don't invest now, then that's it, I've lost out on the opportunity. No, there's always a new opportunity. There's always new things to invest in every single day, because we're in a space where we're constantly iterating and innovating. I also learned that there's no such thing as a perfect time to purchase a stock. Some people will say that the best time to purchase a stock is when it floats into the public space. Other people will say that it's better to wait a couple of weeks later. But the truth of the matter is, it's all speculation. No one knows. And it reminds me of a statement that I read in one of the finance books, which said it's better to spend time in the market than to time the market. And most people who try to time the market don't do as well compared to people who invest consistently over a period of time in an index fund. Don't allow FOMO to make you purchase a stock or purchase an index fund prematurely. Don't fall for the hype. Do your research. Don't be moved by emotion. Be as logical as possible. Otherwise, you will lose money, and that's not a fun place to be in. The third thing that I didn't realize is on different investment platforms, you can have the same index funds, but how the index is utilized can be completely different. I'll use the S&P 500 as an example. If you use a site like Vanguard, it has accumulating and it has distributing. Accumulating means that any gains are automatically reinvested, whereas distributing means that you get whatever the gains are back into your account balance. Now, when it comes to investing, you always want to reinvest your money back in so that you can benefit from compounding. And the best analogy for me to use that parallels this is, if you have a plant and you water it and you stop, it will kind of grow and then it will stop growing. or it will grow really slowly, but it won't grow to its full potential. And that's what happens when you don't reinvest your money. The next mistake that I made was overlooking the importance of liquidity. Liquidity is basically how easy it is for you to convert an asset into cash. So something like a house is quite illiquid. It is very difficult for you to turn a house into cash because you have to go through the process of finding someone to buy it, and then you have to go through the sales process, which takes months before you get the amount of money at the end. And sometimes you don't actually know how much you're going to get because the value of houses goes up and then it comes down. Whereas something like a stock, you just need to press a button and click sell, and then you've got your cash equivalent. The mistake that I made was taking a large percentage of the cash that I had and putting it into things that were illiquid, which is great if you have an aggressive approach to trying to accumulate assets relatively quickly. But the downside of that is the stress associated with just not having cash. And life is so unpredictable. It's important that you have an emergency fund. It's important that you have a rainy day fund. And my advice to anyone who wants to build up the amount of assets and how much their investment portfolio is worth really quickly is do not overlook the importance of having some form of cash. I would advise setting aside 3 to 6 months of an emergency fund for any sudden expenses or unforeseen circumstances. And the second thing I would advise is to always balance long-term investment with accessible funds for flexibility. So rather than tying all of your money into things that are very difficult to make into cash, make it variable. Put a certain percentage of your allocation towards things that are relatively illiquid, and then put a certain percentage towards things that are relatively liquid, just so that regardless of what life throws your way, you're good and you won't be stressed out looking for cash. And that brings me to the end of this video. Make sure you comment below what finance mistakes you have made, and don't forget to check out the description box, which will have links to loads of finance goodies and playlists to other videos which are related to this investing series.